Hello and welcome to Todd Talk, where insight meets inspiration. I'm your host, Todd Hiller, and I'm an author, speaker, and longtime community leader, here to guide you on a journey towards fulfillment and balance. In every episode, we'll explore ways to fill life's emptiness, helping you uncover practical tools to create harmony, purpose, and happiness. Whether it's thriving in your career, nurturing personal growth, or simply finding joy in the everyday, Todd Talk is your space for real conversations and actionable advice. So let's thrive together, personally, professionally, and beyond. This is Todd Talk, and I'm thrilled to have you here.
Everyone, and welcome to Todd Talk. Thank you for being here today, as always. And today, just a basic thought that I had the other day, and really reflecting on that. And I want to walk through something that might seem kind of simple, and it might seem like you've heard it before, and I'm sure you have, but I want to talk about it anyway. So yesterday I was at an event with some friends of mine in town, and usually the event runs from X time to X time. It's usually from 12 to 3. And we stayed after 3, and there were still people lingering and talking and just having a great time. And I thought, I got to get going and pick up and pack up and get the heck out of here and leave. I've got other stuff to do on my plate and in my calendar. And, I've been here for a while, so let's get going. And then I thought, how often am I going to be sitting in a place where the conversation is so amazing and the conversation is flowing so freely and people are just having a great time and hanging out? And the thought hit me that there are so many things that we rush through for whatever reason that we'll probably miss someday. So today's episode, that's what we're going to call it, is Don't Rush Through What You'll Miss Someday. And the idea is we have a whole host of things that we rush through. We hurry kids out the door. Get your shoes on. It's time for school. We say hurry up and eat because we have to go to soccer practice, whatever it is. Or we go to an event and we look at our watch and we say, well, we better get going because we've got to get home and start dinner, or we've got to make a plan for this, or the kids have homework, whatever it is. We have all these lists of things to do. And all of us, whether you are a parent or not, whether you have a busy calendar or a not-so-busy calendar, I believe truly that there are so many things in our lives that we are going to look back on someday and say, think of how cool it would have been if we didn't rush through that, or we remembered more about this. And I've come to find in my life that sometimes when people get together and you're having a really good time, we lose track of time. And I think there's a really big reason for that. I think the universe or God or whoever is trying to tell us, hey, listen, the reason you're losing track of time is because right now the hurrying and the rushing shouldn't matter. The time ticking shouldn't matter. Enjoy this moment. Look around you and just take it in. There's no shortage of times where we feel stressed, worn out, overwhelmed, tired, you name it. But those times that we feel truly good and truly happy, where we're not even paying attention to what time it is or what the clock says because we're just having a good time, should be the things we hang on to and we don't rush through. And unfortunately, I think a lot of times we do that. Now, sometimes it's necessity. Sometimes we really do have to get the kids out the door to school because they can't be late. And sometimes they do have a practice, so we're trying to hurry through dinner. But I think there's two parts of this. That one is to enjoy those things when they come, when you can, and be mindful of the fact that you shouldn't rush through things if you don't need to, if there is no deadline or no sports practice or no school bell about to ring. And also be really mindful and live your life in a way that you don't have to rush through those moments. And that's partly what I have done by taking things off my plate and kind of narrowing down the things I focus on and put on my calendar, because it has opened up so much time for other things with friends and family and not having to rush through things and being able to truly enjoy them. Because someday we're going to miss them, I promise. I just recently posted a video on social media about, hey, tell me in the comments something you miss from your childhood. And I have a whole endless list of them. And you can't get the time back when you're younger. You can't go back into that exact moment. And even now, if you try to recreate a certain event or a certain group of people, you're not at the same place in your life. It's not the same point in time. It's not the same place in the universe. It won't be exactly the same as it was before. So hang on to those moments that you want to and that you need to, where time feels like it's just not even a thing that you're worried about, and truly step into and just let the good time and the feeling and the happiness and the connection and just let it wash over you and enjoy that thing, because we will no doubt miss so many things later on in life that we rush through now. when I was super busy, I used to say that I'll slow down eventually, but it's like the trap of hurry, because rushing starts to feel like survival. Deadlines at work, demands for your social calendar, for kids' sports, for meetings, for town events, for groups you belong to or organizations you're part of. And you start to say, well, I'll slow down when life calms down. And the idea is that where I was super busy, life was never going to calm down when I had 25 different things on my plate. I counted them up the other day. I was working on a speech that I'm going to do, a talk for a group of college students who are in a peer advocate program. And I was just trying to give them an outline of, the things that I had on my plate when I realized I needed to start doing less. And I had 10 things I was committed to every single month outside of being a father and just a person and working full time. I had 10 commitments, 10 things on my plate that I was responsible for every single month, that people needed things from me. And so in that sense, when my calendar looked like that, I was never going to have the chance to slow down when life calmed down, because it wasn't going to happen. So when everything feels rushed, nothing feels meaningful. When everything is just go, 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 click, 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 one thing to the next, check the box, we're done here, we're done here, we're done here. It loses its meaningfulness. It loses its sense of calm and its sense of enjoyment, because you're just rushing through it. You're just doing it literally to say it's done. And you don't have any enjoyment, and it doesn't just need to be obligations and commitment. Sometimes it's dinner. Oh, okay, dinner's done. Yep, hurry up, sit down, eat, 15 minutes, done. Throw the dishes in the dishwasher. We're done with that. Now we can move on to something else. But when you do that, you miss the conversation you can have at dinner. You miss talking to your spouse or your kids or whoever you're sitting with, your parents. And you just end up in this drastic loop of not realizing that all the things you're just, quote-unquote, doing to get done and checking off the list are the things that you could be enjoying, but you have so many crammed together and packed together that you're never going to have time to enjoy them. And this reflective point from my own life was that life could not calm down on its own. It wasn't going to just do it by osmosis, because I had let myself get so busy and involved in so many things. You have to choose the pace and the peace you bring to your life. I like that. I'm going to say that again. You have to choose the pace and the peace that you bring to your life. Because when I had all these things on my plate and all this stuff to do and all these commitments and deadlines and meetings, and people needed things from me and people were always asking me questions, hey, we need help with this. What does this look like? This is due. We have to do this. Can you help me with this? On and on and on. It's not that I didn't want to help the people. It's that I didn't have the capacity to help that many people in that many ways while living my normal life. So you have to tell life to calm down. You have to give it the structure you want it to have. And that was a really difficult lesson for me to learn. And before I learned it, I was just rushing through everything and rushing through lots of things that I was going to enjoy. I recently went on vacation, and for the first time in a long time, it actually felt like a vacation, because I'm at a point now in my life where my phone doesn't ring as much as it used to, where I don't always have to put out some kind of fire or answer someone's question. And, I loved the people that I worked with and served with and belonged to organizations with. But so many times in the past, I had gotten a text message or a phone call that started with, we know you're on vacation. We're really sorry. But, and then here came the question or the ask, or that we need to do this, or I need an answer, or can you help me with this, or tell me what to do, or tell me where to go, and all that kind of stuff. And now that I've gotten to a place in my life where I am less busy and I have given my life pace and peace, both by choosing what I want my life to look like and my days to look like, my vacation felt like a vacation. And it is such a crazy idea to me to think of all the times that I went on vacation that I don't really remember them feeling like a break from the normal and the humdrum and the crazy busy and the expectations and the go, go, go and the checklists. And the reason they didn't feel that way was because those things were still present. Even though I may have been in a different state or even a different country, there was still those things, those to-do lists, those organizations, those people, those things that were always being asked of me. They were still there. And they may have come a little less frequently while I was on vacation, but they still showed up. And the only way I could make them go away, and not in the mean or cruel way, but the only way I could make them less prevalent in my life was to take a step back and say, hey, these things need to go. Because quite frankly, if you stay involved in all the 10 things, the 10 things are going to need your time and attention no matter what, even if you're on vacation, because sometimes things go wrong, people have questions. The world and the calendar doesn't stop ticking just because I went on vacation, but the way you choose and find your pace and your peace is you have to craft it and create it. Set some boundaries. Allow people the opportunity to ask things of you when you are capable of giving them answers and help. But when it's time to take a step back or time to take a break or time to take a vacation, you need to have a structure and a pace and a way of living that allows you to truly step back without just saying, hey, I'm going on vacation, but I'm still going to be bombarded with all these questions and all these things. And when you do that, when you get to that place, you can now enjoy it so much, and you can actually not rush through all of the things that you're going to enjoy someday. And I think back now, and this is crazy to me to think of, but when I was younger, living at the farm, but I was still an adult and capable of, driving and doing all those things, I think of how many things I love doing now at the farm that I had so much time to do when I was younger, before kids and before busyness and before being a homeowner and all the house chores and organizations and kids sports, all those things. I think of all the time I had to do things at the farm that I just rushed through them to get through them, and I never actually sat back and said, God, I really love doing this. Because I do love being at the farm. I love doing farm chores. It brings me such a sense of peace. Even something as simple as on a nice day going to walk the fence line or fix the fence or cutting hay on a beautiful day. There were always things that I was just trying to hurry up and get through to say they were done so I could move on to something else. But gosh, I wish now that I had that same slow pace and that same opportunity to go back and do those things with the same giant amount of time stretched out in front of me, where I could just enjoy them and get things done, but still have the time to enjoy the task at hand. And I miss those. I miss that sense of place that was connected to such a long stretch of time that I had to do things when I was younger. And this is really set in with my kids too, especially on this vacation. The hey dad, watch this is never ending, that if you have kids, or the hey mom, watch this, the hey mom, dad, parents, whoever, grandma, watch this. And so often when I was super busy, it was just I would glance up and be like, yep, cool, that's so great, guys. And it's not that I didn't want to watch, it's that I felt like I had to get back to something else. And now, it's a moment to pause and reflect really, and just remember and realize that someday I'm going to miss all this. And a very good friend of mine reminded me, to enjoy the little moments and enjoy those things that you're going to have, because they're not going to last forever. And take the time to listen to your kids and, hey, Dad, watch this, and take the time to do things with them while they still want to do things with you. Because hopefully every one of us will have a great relationship with our kids for many years to come. But the truth is, when they get older and they get busier, they don't have as much time for the, hey, Mom and Dad, watch this, because they're busy with school or sports or friends or college or their own job or whatever it is. So soak all those things in now, because, I have learned as I get older that the ordinary can be so extraordinary or extraordinary. It's just beautiful sometimes, the everyday ordinary moments we take for granted, to actually look at them and smile and be like, man, this is my life. And you know what? It's pretty great. It's a pretty cool life to be living. It's a pretty cool thing to have right in front of me. And so don't let it go by without paying attention to it. And I've tried to be really mindful of this too. Like in the mornings, I sit on my porch and drink my coffee. And I used to sit for like about 2 minutes and then say, oh, well, I could do this. I got to go check the garden, or I got to water the hanging plants or the baskets, or water the flowers in the yard, or I better go inside or get the dishwasher empty, or whatever it was. But, now I'm so interested and I'm so diligent about actually sitting still and listening to the sounds of my front yard, of smelling the coffee and tasting the coffee that's in my hand instead of chugging it quick to wake up. I deliberately take the time to just sit there and soak in the things around me, because that's the whole point of sitting on the porch and having coffee. It's not to hurry up and drink it and go back in the house and start a chore list. It's to sit in a beautiful, quiet spot and enjoy the taste of my coffee and enjoy what's all around me and the quiet and the things I love about nature and about being outside. And you've probably heard it before, but there is a really beautiful way to flip the frame of things. Instead of saying I have to, start saying I get to. Instead of, I have to go tuck my kids in, or I have to go put the kids to bed. Say you get to. I get to go tuck my kids in. I get to go sit with them and talk and say goodnight. I get to go ask them how their day was before they fall asleep. I get to be the last thing that they remember while they fall asleep. I get to be the first thing they think of in the morning because they maybe remembered falling asleep. So make that a beautiful moment, not a rushed one, And And this list is endless for things that you do. I have to go feed the cows. I have to go throw on hay. No, I get to go feed my cows. I am fortunate enough to still have in my family a beautiful 40-acre farm with amazing property, beautiful views, animals to raise and take care of. I get to do that still. Even amongst the busy and the having a full-time job and having kids and them going to sports, I get to have this beautiful piece of property in my family. And I get to work the property and work the land and raise animals and feed my family in a way that they've been doing for hundreds of years. And I get to have that, and I get that privilege in my life. So change that I have to I get to, because it really can do so much good just in your mental capacity and the way you think about things. And all it takes is flipping that one little word. And as you go through your day, every day, ask yourself this question. Ask yourself, what about today? What happened today? No matter the day, whether it's a regular Tuesday or a day you're on vacation or a weekend day or a day spent with family or I don't care what it is. But at the end of your day, ask yourself, what mental picture would I take for today? What mental image would I snap to keep this memory forever so I could look back on it? What was so beautiful that I will miss someday that I always want to remember about today and feel about today? And do that with your days, even if it's a regular random weekday, because those moments exist. Sometimes I think we just don't realize to look at them or pay attention to them, and they just kind of fade away before we have a moment to realize how beautiful they actually are. And as we wrap up and close today, that's what I want to encourage you to do. This kind of call to action for you to be reflective in your own life. So today, while you're listening to this, whatever day of the week it happens to be that you find it, it airs on Sunday evening, but if it's a Monday or a Tuesday, whenever it finds you, don't rush through today what someday you will ache to or long to experience again. It could be a bedtime story. It could be the dinner table noise, the walk across the parking lot. And the dinner table noise just reminded me of something. On Friday, two of my daughter's best friends came over to build. They're building a cardboard boat for a little boat regatta at the town fair in town. And so I had three girls in the garage with a whole bunch of cardboard, duct tape, spray paint, magic markers. We were building a boat that we have to hope floats. And they were laughing, and they were just having a great time. Well, when we went inside to eat dinner, the cacophony of laughter at the dinner table between the three of them and my son was the most beautiful noise I have ever heard. It was 4 different laughs from 4 different kids, but it echoed through my entire house. And I just sat back at the dinner table and just looked across at them, and I couldn't help but smile because I said, man, someday I'm hoping they stick together like this and they stay friends and they can always laugh like this and be friends like this and be together like this, because this is something so beautiful, and that's not something you should ever take for granted. And so I really sat in that moment and just soaked it all in, and that was my mental picture for that day, of that loud and boisterous, laughter-filled dinner table. And it made me so happy to remember that and to have that kind of in my mental bank and my mental picture bank of things walking forward after that day. And, when it comes to that type of thing, I can't wait until it happens again. It's something I hope happens very, very soon and hope happens very, very often. So take those moments and let them reflect and let feel them. Don't just let them pass by. Even if it's a walk across the parking lot, a walk across your lawn, going out to water your flowers or pick a flower, weed your garden, I don't care what it is. Because one day those ordinary moments are going to shine like gold. My grandfather was a huge gardener, and even well into his 80s, he'd be out there in a day when it was 100 degrees, and he'd be kneeling down, and he'd be weeding his garden in the sun, and I'd be like, Grandpa, aren't you hot? You should go inside in the shade. He'd say, no, it's good. I'm okay. This is good. I love doing this. And he loved to garden. And as a man who spent 9 active combat tours, he was in the Navy for 7 years, did 9 active combat tours in World War II, went to Omaha Beach, Juno Beach, Sword Beach. This man had seen some things. And gardening was his way to relax and his way to unwind, and he was never going to miss those moments. And I didn't realize how beautiful of a thing it was for him to spend that time in his garden until I got to a place where I garden myself now as an adult, but also where I realized that was his slowdown. That was his moment to reflect on the day and just to enjoy the simpleness of not having to go to work or run around or do chores. He could happily weed his garden and look at all the beautiful vegetables growing and tend to something that he planted and he took care of. So no matter how mundane you think it is, take a breath and be here and be there and step into that moment, because someday, I promise, someday you'll miss today. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be, there's not going to be a big sign blinking that's going to say, hey, you're going to miss this someday. Hey, don't forget this moment. It's just going to happen. One day it's going to be gone, and one day it's not going to be there anymore. Everybody always says you'll never know, but someday there's a last day you'll ever pick up your kids. Someday there's a last day you'll ever hug your grandparent, and all these things, but we don't get a memo in the mail of when the last day is. We don't get the date handwritten out. So do it now and take it in and be present and be mindful and be just so happy and let your life wash over you in every single way that it can. As always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and share it with someone if you think it will resonate with a friend of yours or someone you might know. Be well today and always, my friends. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the message. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Todd Talk. If you've liked what you've heard, please go ahead and subscribe and follow along so you don't miss any updates or new episodes. Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of your day.